Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. 여기에 cold-blooded. 너와 있을 때 I swear. 제가 먼저 zero 폭설한 그 children. 꿈에도 I wasn't dumb. 나만 빼고 넌 모두에게 참 친절해. 내 신감이 들어 단판이 되던 머릿속을 흔들 네 ibuprofen 그만해 it's time to stop. 승부욕을 자극하는 style yeah. 알면서도 마음이 자꾸 내게 가. 안만 빠져버릴까. If you want me back I'll tell you I'm sorry. If you want me back I'll tell you stop trying. Yeah, you got me. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. 여기에 cold-blooded. 여기에 cold-blooded. Yeah. 여기에 cold-blooded. 여기에 cold-blooded. I'm like frozen 뭐야 모두 stress은 gotta let it go 했어. 소개팅 데이팅 어플 다 깔아 또 보았어. 반대가 끌린대 Never sees a track. Don't know about me and you yeah we fell into the cracks. Yeah 갖고 너네 no cap. 왜 나는 보여 what's happening. 객관적일 수가 없이 이미 game white flag and waving fast. Yeah I'm leaving back but 말은 don't 너만 보면 나도 내 맘 I don't know 이거 love a relationship 헷갈리기만 해 girl. I'll tell you I'm sorry. If you want me back I'll tell you stop trying. Yeah, you got me. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. 여기에 cold-blooded. Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에도 넌 겨울. 여기에 cold-blooded. 여기에 cold-blooded. Cold-blooded. Yeah, girl, you're cold-blooded. Yeah. Girl, you're cold-blooded. Girl, you're cold-blooded.
Everything about you perfectly undone, and I was like a statue staring into the sun. If I jump I will fall, guaranteed. 20 seconds later I did. If I jump I will fall, guaranteed. 20 seconds later I did. And I'm going down, and I'm going down, and I'm going down again, yeah. You don't need a lipstick to kill someone with a smile.
You don't need a lipstick to kill someone with a smile.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on with you tonight? It's good to see everybody. Welcome to another edition of SIR HALE Speaks. It's good to see everybody. If you guys can hear us and see us loudly in the comments, I want you guys to let us know. Just type clear. Let me know if we are coming through loudly and clearly. Excellent. Hang on one second. I hear some echoes. We're coming through loudly and clear. Excellent. It's good to see you, V. What's going on with you? It's good to see you, Mandrell. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Chase Johnson. What's going on, Lady Anya? It's good to see you. If we're coming through clear, it sounds messed up. Those in the back chat, do we sound messed up? Let me make sure we're good. We're going to make sure we're good. Everybody in the back, we're good? Excellent, excellent, good. Well, listen, everybody, we're going to have a really good show. Before I bring up my guest, I need to do some house cleaning. Everybody do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's start there. Hit the like button. Whether you're walking through this, you're watching this through YouTube. It's good to see you, Rose. Glad that you're on. Whether you're watching this through YouTube or Facebook, hit the like button. We got to make sure we get back into the algorithm. And we got too much power tonight and our dynamic guests for us not to have these views up. So everybody hit the like button. This feeds the algorithm. So do that. And then do me a favor, tell somebody to get over here and tune into the conversation. We've got some brilliant thinkers who are going to be sharing their perspective on this topic tonight. And we are super excited about it. We're talking about the relationship dilemma in 2025. And we've got some things we are going to discuss. So buckle your seatbelts, because we're going there tonight. SIR HALE SPEAKS. Now listen, everybody, I want everybody, as you see the guests coming up, everybody do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe and you hit the like and the notification bell for their platforms. Everybody on here is doing something, and they've taken some time out of their busy schedules to be with us here tonight. And I think the best thing that we can do is show some respect to them by subscribing and patronizing their platforms. So I'm going to bring up the people. Shout out to Lady Anye, who is my #1 mod, to Lady Hill, who always takes care of these ones and twos. She makes sure things are running. She is our marketing executive. So everybody, subscribe to the platform. We're going to have a dynamic conversation. If you're ready for a good show, just type "I'm ready." Type that myself. I'm ready for a good conversation. Everybody, bring it up to the stage, the one of the only. She's been on the platform a couple different times. She is someone that I've befriended, brilliant thinker. Her and her husband are excellent people, and I'm very excited that she has taken some time out to join us tonight for a wonderful conversation. She is going to come with all of the smoke because she's sassy like that. Everybody, show your love for the one of the only, the sassy professor is in the building, and she's getting ready to school us all. Everybody, show your love.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
What's going on with you? Everybody, listen. My brother from another mother is in the building. It's been a while since him and I've been on a platform together, but he is a dope brother. Like, guys, I'm not just saying this because I know him, and it's certainly not because he paid me to say it. This is a beautiful, brilliant brother, a married man, a father, someone who is a voice for the culture we live in today. Everybody, show your love for the one of the only. Tez is Ian. He's in the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's going on, Tez?
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
Yep, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad that you're here.
Yes, sir. Blessed to be here. Happy to have the invite and ready for the conversation tonight. Super excited.
Yes, sir. Now, everybody, now listen, I got somebody new to the platform. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure what she's going to do. She might torch the place. She is new to the platform. She is my image consultant, the best in the world. Everybody, I want you to show your love. Actually, before I say this, I think it's really important to give people their flowers. I think sometimes we limit people to one particular box because it's convenient to see them as one thing. Everybody who you see on here, they are versatile. Don't limit them. They may be a brilliant thinker, but they may be a teacher. They may be a writer. They may produce music. They may be a coach. We've got a group of diverse, multifaceted people on here tonight, and this speaks very highly to the one I'm getting ready to bring up. Everybody, show your love to the one of the only, Prophet Harmony. She's in the building.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm so glad to be here and be present with the people tonight.
Excellent. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see everybody here tonight. Y'all, I think we're going to have a dope show. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah.
I think
Most
so.
definitely.
I'm pretty convinced. Shout out again to Lady Hill, who's on the ones on the twos. She's on the back end taking care of stuff. So everybody, hit the like button, invite somebody to join. I think I actually want to just jump into the conversation and explain to you why we're doing this. I think everybody's talking about relationships, and can I just be transparent with you guys? Some people need to absolutely, SIR HALE Speaks in the building. They need to be silent. because what they're doing is they're absorbing what other people are saying without having any real experience to pull on. And this is why you'll see them talk about stuff and then they can't do the stuff that they are talking about because they ain't got no experience. And certainly we're not being discriminatory. I'm just saying we've got to be authentic. Everybody who's on here has got an authentic experience, and we're going to share about why there is such a dilemma in relationships in 2025. How come people are yoked but not equally? Let's do this. Let's start with the first question. And what I'll do, instead of me calling on people, everybody just jump in. I think that works good. We're going to have a free conversation. Everybody, again, I'm not responsible for this fire that you're getting ready to say. Here's the first question, everybody. So how does early exposure to relationship patterns influence our adult dating and marriage decisions? How does early exposure to relationship patterns influence our adult dating and marriage decisions? Please don't go all at once.
No, I'm being quiet. I was letting the ladies go, so, I'm trying to be a gentleman here,
Well, so I have a question to present to the question. And so my question is, how can you build the foundation of a healthy relationship when your emotional blueprint was drawn on dysfunction? How does that work? So if your daddy molested you and then your mother stayed because she didn't want to be an embarrassment to the church because you guys were pastors, but the whole community knows that you have an outside family that's around the corner. So now the bishop is the pastor and the predator. And so you grow up thinking that secrecy is sacred and that a double life is devotion. And so you start believing God gonna bless your mess because you holler over it or because you edit your covenant, right? So that's not dating, that's adaption. So of course we have issues where we have early trauma, early exposure that does negate our thinking as we grow old or older, because we don't always mature. As we grow older, especially if we don't take the time to heal from the trauma.
All right. Well, I ain't gonna go that deep. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it more on the surface level. I think it's extremely important as far as your exposure to relationships, but I think it's also important to what you see. That kind of maps what you believe a healthy relationship will be. I say I'm blessed enough to grow up in a 2-parent household. Daddy was a minister. Mother following him everywhere he went. When he got saved, she got saved. So all I got a chance to do was see a healthy marriage. So that framed my mindset going forward with, I knew this what I wanted. Now, I ain't say I did everything right, especially before I got married, but I knew my foundation was I want to be a husband and a father and a godly husband and father. So it definitely shaped my perspective, and I think it shapes most people's perspective of relationships early.
So the interesting paradox between Prophet Harmony and you is that the blueprint both had its impact. What you saw, the template, had an impact. Assistant Professor, you have a thought on this?
Yeah. I fall in between both of them. So it's real interesting that the prophet came out swinging, because I'm actually with her on this one. I grew up in a Baptist home, and I am an only child, and my mother was married to a gentleman that he was a deacon, but he was one of them dirty deacons type. And I'm an only child. Me and my mother, we didn't really have a great relationship. They had an awful marriage. It was on and off, on and off. I've seen all kind of drama throughout the whole time of their relationship, from him cheating with his ex-wife, burning down houses, all kind of stuff, just a full Rolling Stone. And she stayed, but she really wasn't a church woman. She just was somebody that honored marriage, that wanted to have the marriage in name only, even if she didn't really have a good marriage. So they fully were equally yoked. And because of that modeling, for the longest, I did not want to be married at all. So it's very interesting that you put this panel together. I was like, oh no, if this is what this is, and this is what y'all come from marriages, I don't want no part of it. So that is the way that modeling actually works for me. So through a lot of soul searching, a lot of counseling, a lot of reading. That's why I study like I do today, because that's kind of what helped me come out of it, as well as God helped me come out of that full mindset. And it was a real journey. So we have 3 different dynamics. So this should be very interesting.
You know, that's a very good point, and anybody can chime in after I say this. Is I think that you have to have some level of awareness to even know that these patterns are off. If
Yeah.
unhealthy is all you know, there has to be something that you can juxtapose that experience against something healthy. My question is to you: you saw unhealthy patterns, and even for you, Tez, even though your example was healthy, what did you have to offset your experience to let you know that there was a different experience? Like, so for Tez, like, how did you know you had a healthy upbringing? And for Sassy Professor, for Prophet Harmony, if you saw unhealthy, what did you see that let you know that I don't want this? This is not good for me.
Well, let me go. So all my family members weren't saved now. You know, all of them didn't go to the Church of God in Christ like we did. So we would spend the night over some of my, you know, uncles, auntie houses or whatever. And I would see the dynamic of their families and how they would be. Now, I'm not saying they was bad people, but I had an uncle and an auntie that was cohabitating. They weren't married. They were just together forever. And you would see them holler, fight, the fist fight. And I'm like, hold on, that don't happen. That don't happen in our household. So once I got a chance to see the outside perspective of, hey, if the Bible ain't in this house, if we ain't emotionally healed from the stuff we went through 10, 15, 20 years ago, that's what it can look like. So spending the night at my cousin's house was a stark reminder that I'm blessed. Like, I might need to stay on mom and daddy's side instead of Unc Nam's side.
I love it. I love it that you had a good example. And then you got people like me who grew up on the rough side of the mountain. And then I've been an armor bearer and served in leadership for over 25 years. So the stuff that I would have to take with me to my grave. And so I think one of the biggest things of this podcast is to bring out both narratives. So we can teach people how to be healthy and how to spot manipulation, because in that situation, what happens 52 years later when the pastor now has produced a prophet, but the prophet doesn't have any issues having secret sexual escapades. They hide their sexual orientation in hotel mirrors and elevator reflections, but they don't have any issue preaching holiness and judging others. And so early exposure to trauma can trick your nervous system because it makes adrenaline.
Oh, Prophet, I think you froze. I need you to come back because you hitting on something.
BTU.
Yep.
Everybody, give Prophet Harmony a few seconds. She's gonna reconnect. But I know, Sassy Professor, you can pick up on that.
Yeah. I'm going with the prophet on this one. Now, what you asked, what kind of helped me kind of come out of some of the things that I was in. And actually, it wasn't really natural relationships. It was through a series of reading the Bible and kind of looking to say, okay, so this is not what we're supposed to be doing. And the way Jesus is married to the church, and even some of the different biblical case studies that I was looking at from Aquila and Priscilla, and some of the other ones, John the Baptist's mom and Annette dad, and some of the other different people that I looked at in there, they didn't have the kind of marriages that I was actually seeing. So I knew then, okay, something is off. If we're saying that this Bible is absolutely correct, then we're not living by it. So it's completely and utterly off. So that is what made me know, okay, I've got the wrong model, because everything that I see is dysfunctional. Also, then later I began to learn that there's 3 types of relationships. I learned that there was what we call symbiotic, where they're kind of like 2 cymbals and they match each other's vibe. And when they hit together, they make a sound. And then there's what we call dysfunctional relationships. That's when both people are just basically awful. And, nothing is going anywhere. Ham, no burger, pop, no corn. They just all the way messed up. And then we've got full parasitic, where one is shining and the other one is eating off of them and pulling them down. So when I began to see those 3 different dynamics, I have just about seen one of those 3 in every marriage that I've seen. And for the longest time, it really scared me. until I understood, hey, this is how you can come out of it. These are the different things that you can do in order to ensure that you have a symbiotic marriage and not a parasitic or dysfunctional marriage, which is normally what most people have. They've either got the one where one spouse is shining and the other spouse is all the way, down on the ground, or they got the one where both of them a mess and ain't nobody got nothing, ain't nothing hidden on nothing.
So early exposure can definitely cause you to trick your nervous system.
Yeah.
So it makes your adrenaline feel like affection. And so before we know it, we're calling anxiety intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so to back up what the professor said, the way my grandmama used to say it is the apple don't fall too far from the tree, right? But when we educate ourselves and then we increase our levels of discernment, being healed then says, even if I love you, I'm not dying for your undisclosed patterns. That's masked as performance. That's what the heal part says.
Let's see that one more time.
So gotcha. So the grandma part says the apple don't fall too far from the tree, right? But then when you educate yourself, like Miss Professor said, when you educate yourself and increase your level of discernment, right? Because there's levels to this. It's not just laity. It's not just regular folks. We got folks in collars. There's wolves that got fangs.
Mm-hmm.
So as you increase your level of discernment, the healed you part says, even if I love you, I'm not dying for your undisclosed patterns that's masked as performance.
Right. That's right.
Fantastic. Everybody, this is getting good. We did heat up. So everybody, I want to pivot just a bit. So I'm asking this particular question because, in this, there's always these statements about body count. There's always these statements about this. But I think that what happens is if you have people who don't understand how to speak to the biology, but also to the heart of the issue, we're just dogging people. Yeah. So I want to pose this question to everybody. Good to see you, Quincy James. Glad that you're here. I want to ask this question. It's a deep question. What happens when she starts having sex too early? What happens?
Well, I'll start, and then the prophet and Tez can come in and finish up the rest of the way. But when somebody starts having sex too early, first of all, we already know biologically you don't have the emotional aptitude in order to be able to handle everything that is going to be going on. So typically you don't gain emotional intelligence until the age of 26, around that area. Some people even past 26, it could be 30 until you gain emotional intelligence. So even so science and the Bible on this right here agree to where even in Songs of Solomon, he said, don't wake up a love too early because it can be so deep and so much emotions that are going in. It's even old people that can't handle, being in love. That's why we see, the crime files and passion and passionate crimes and that type of thing. So when you wake up love too early, as she says, it triggers different biological responses. It even messes with your limbic system. It twists your brain and other things that are going in. So when you wake a love up too early and you're unable to sustain that, you can find yourself not only in a world of trouble, but also somewhat prolong your life and kind of ruin your life. Not to mention some of the other things of knitting your soul together. Some people would call it a soul tie, and a whole bunch of other drama that you really don't want to open yourself up to, that you would have to deal with otherwise, if you were just to allow love to sleep until it was actually time for full fruition.
All right, I'll jump in here now. The question say, what happens when she start having sex too early? We stick in there, or can we go to the he side as well?
We stick in there. I'm doing this strategically. Y'all
okay.
say.
Okay. I said for me, it's a little hard to say. Like I say, of course, y'all can see I'm a male, but I can tell you some of the things that I've learned, some of the lessons or stories that young women then told me about, giving it away too early. And like I said, depending on the age, it's a whole nother situation. Some of the stories, some of the things that I've been told is it puts them in a mindset where they don't cherish it as much I know, let me say it like this. I know women that wish they would have waited until they got married, especially once they got to know God. Once they really got to know what was the purpose of sex, the divinity of what it truly is. It's still young women right now that like the sassy professor said, that's dealing with soul ties from when they was 18 and they in their 30s. But because you open up that door so early and you don't even understand what it's supposed to be for, it messes up the whole sanctity of what it's supposed to be for. And I'll just say this, for me, I understand that lesson as well. I was a late bloomer. When I got to blooming, I was blooming. So I understand how I throw your mind off too. So that's why I had to ask that question.
Yeah.
Shout out to the bloomers. Shout out to the bloomers. Prophet, do you have something on this one?
Oh, I have a lot. So I'm going to ask and preface, how honest can I be? So my sexual experience started without my consent, right? So it started as a child being molested. So I'm gonna skip over, since we've already handled that. Let's talk about the 30 and the 40 and almost 50-year-old trying to date, and you're sexually active, even if you're not supposed to be, because you preach something opposite, but that's what you're doing. Let's talk about that. Because if I can be honest, if it happened, anything like it happened to me, you're gonna be on the floor somewhere, prostrate, asking God for forgiveness for your disobedience.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a lot of things that happen when you start having sexual encounters with people too early. You find out after the fact. They'll get in the pulpit and lie with the title prophet. You'll find out that their doctor credentials were bought from a paper mill, but that's after the fact. So you'll find out all of these things that you may have known ahead of time, but because you've now bonded with somebody, you have now entered what I call sexual and chemical captivity. Yes. Because your nervous system is lit, but it's lit before the discernment has kicked in. And so now you're defending what feels like a bond because you think you belong, but you actually been chemically hijacked by false intimacy. And so what happens, sir, is spiritually premature sex writes covenants that God never gave us the ink on. Right, so it gives us access.
Wait, whoa!
That's right.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a poet.
Let's rewind. Let's rewind 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say that again?
So spiritually, when we're talking about this, premature sex writes a covenant that God never gave us the ink on.
Amen.
God never gave us the ink on that. And so you start confusing chemistry with confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And so my advice, because I can never get on any platform and tell anybody anything unless I'm experiencing it or I've experienced it. So my advice is slow down, because sometimes God doesn't want our harvest contaminated by unhealed connections. So I'm about to say something real, because you said I could say whatever I needed to say as long as I wasn't disrespectful. You might be Hulk smashing the distraction and miscarrying your destiny.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, everybody, we've enjoyed Prophet Harmony. She's going to leave now, and we're going to continue the discussion. It's been good having you on tonight.
Throw out, Prophet.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
Everybody, I want you to hear that was heavy.
Yeah.
Now, so you said that you don't speak on things that you don't have an experience in. What gives you the strength to be able to open up and share something like that? Where does that come from?
So for me, it was the journey, and it's a long process. Me personally, I went through this experience where I was in perpetual healing. And so because of the trauma from my childhood, then I blamed this person and blamed that person and then blamed that person. And then by the time I got to my 30s, around 32, I said the only common denominator in all these situations is me. Now, I can't help what was done to me as a child when I couldn't defend myself.
Right.
But as an adult, then it becomes my responsibility to grow and mature into whatever I'm supposed to be. So I have developed this thing now that's called radical self-awareness. So it allows me to turn the mirror back to me.
All right, y'all. I think we could almost end it just with 2 questions. This was a lot to take in. But everybody, the reason I'm doing this, though, is because if I'm being honest, let me just share my heart really quickly. After doing so much coaching, let me tell you something that I heard about 80% of the time. It was women who had been sexually violated who never told anybody.
Yeah.
And when that dysfunction shows itself in the relationship in patterns where she doesn't feel comfortable with performing certain things, and he's like, well, you did this before. Sometimes people are introduced to acts that they didn't volunteer for.
Right.
And whenever they feel violated, they take their power back. And what seems like rejection to you is really protection for them for an area that hasn't been healed. Too many of our women have been victims of sexual assault, and I'll even dare say even our men have.
Me too.
Yeah.
The problem that we have is we throw relationships on top of damage that we never heal from.
That's
So
right.
I appreciate you for sharing that, which leads me to my 3rd question. Some of these patterns, can manifest themselves in men wanting marriage. Here's the third question. Let's say he wants marriage, but he wants multiple women. Is this a natural thing or no? Since Tez is on here, I got to start with my brother.
Let's Tez have it first.
He wants marriage. Like, he for sure wants marriage.
Come
Like,
on, Kane.
he just wants a variety.
Is it natural? To be honest, I think it is. And the reason why I'm gonna say that is because, number one, we born in the sin. So we automatically come in screwed up. So you may think something is right that is completely wrong, but because you don't know the source, you automatically think that, oh, I can do this. A second thing is you believe is nature or you believe is right because your homeboy is telling you the same thing. Oh, you ain't a man if you ain't did this. You got to have at least 20 up under your belt by now. And it carries on even when you start to be like, I want to settle down. But because, and like I said, I'm more of an open book like the prophet is. I like to tell stories by telling my story. And that's kind of how I was. My whole mindset was, I got to catch up now. And when I really started to catch, I wanted to run as fast as I could. And I remember telling this story, and it's one of the main reasons why I'm married now. Well, besides wanting to be, is I remember messing with this young lady and messing with another young lady the same day and another young lady the same day. And I went to bed that night and I was just empty, like completely. But I was completely empty inside. I was trying to fill a hole with sex, and it wasn't what truly needed to be filled. And to me, that was a true realization that it don't matter how much lust, how much sex you try to fill with this hole, it's never gonna fill until, number one, you fill it with God, and number two, you get the person that's supposed to be there for you. So I truly believe most men want multiple women. But when you decide to say I do, your covenant ain't just sealed with that person. It's sealed to the higher power. And when you take them vows, yes, I do, now it's serious. So what you want don't apply to the contract that you signed. That's what I got on that one.
Gotta let that breathe. Gotta let it breathe.
Dang.
Okay, ladies, what are your thoughts on this? He wants marriage. He just wants variety.
I think men say they want a variety until they actually get variety. And sometimes, and the reason I'm saying that is 2 things, because we're in a patriarchy. So generally men are the ones that made up these actual rules, whatever that they are, whether they are outside of scripture, whether they are monogamy, whether it's polygamy, whatever it is. Generally we're in a patriarchy. And if there's something that if a man wants changed, then he has the ability to change it because we're under a patriarchy. The other thing I want to allude to is when we start looking at natural selection, evolution, and all those different things in the psychology lens, it's showing that after social adaptation, because as he was saying, Mr. Tez was saying, originally it looks like from the science perspective, we'll do science first, then we'll go biblical. But from the science perspective, it's looking like that people were wanting to have more than one person until they begin to get left out by natural selection, because survival of the fittest shows that the woman generally is going to choose who's going to be the absolute best partner. So if you have those people that are what we call mediocre, or not hitting the bar, not 6'5", 3% body fat, whatever it is, light brown eyes, curly hair, whatever it is she's after, or whatever the, it factor is, then you have a lot of people that would actually be left out. So it's saying that after social adaptation, that it was actually other men that wanted monogamy for that very same reason. So I think a lot of men say, yeah, I desire this and I desire that, but I don't think so, because the math is not mathing. Like I said, this is a patriarchy. Men set the rules. Men generally set the tone on a lot of things that are already going on. So if they wanted that, they would be doing that. Even now, it's showing a lot of the men that are actually even doing that, and some of the things they're doing, they're more depressed. The suicide rate is up. All this other stuff is not going their way, even doing the things that they're saying, quote unquote, that they think that they want to do. Now, biblically, God himself in the original order gave one man and one woman. A lot of people like to bring up Solomon and all these other people, but that's after the fall. We're talking about the original design and the original intent. It even says, let every man have his own wife. I think that goes back to evolution, because it's even saying that during evolution, some of the men began to fight, as I said, because of the natural selection, because of all the women wanting one man. And if you're anywhere on YouTube, you got a lot of men screaming and hollering that 80% of the women are sleeping with 20% of the men. That's what everybody's saying. So if that's true, and if we're going to rock with that as the reason, then this would be why. So the math is not mathing, and somebody's lying. I'm just saying.
Let's let that breathe. Excellent stuff, Prophet. What do you have to say on this? And good to see you, Scam Likely.
So for me, I'm probably about to say something that's very contradictory to the church being a prophet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in these conversations, I love when the Bible comes up. I love when men have these conversations, but I'm gonna try to talk in my low sexy voice as I give this answer, because my response would be, all right, Kane, let's have the conversation.
Right.
And so let's test your crown, because is it about lust or is it about logistics? I absolutely believe in the African system of polygamy. Absolutely believe in it. But the man had to prove that he had the land, the livestock, and the legacy, right? So you stood before a council of elders, not your homeboys and not social media. You had to actually show receipts. And so kings had kingdoms, but peasant people just had opinions. And so when we compare African polygamy to what we're seeing in our Western culture, we got men who don't have life insurance benefits, but they want to quote the Bible. And so polygamy was never meant for the player. It was reserved for the provider. So kings extended bloodlines, not body counts. That's not what this is about. And so if you have the question with me, with Prophet, about polygamy, then I need to see your land. I need to see your deed. I need to see your cows, your livestock, your leadership, which just translates for me, are you the priest, the protector, and the provider? Right? Where's your balance sheet, sir? I need to see your credit score. How many acres do you own? And if you can't answer those questions, you don't need multiple women. You need multiple streams of income.
Amen.
Prophet, you can't come back. Okay. You can't come back. Like, this is it. Like, you done burned your first shot.
I'm okay. I'm gonna be quiet.
Y'all listen.
Keep going.
Y'all listen. I don't know how much realer it gets than those responses. I think what it is, I'll be honest, I'll tell you what it is. I think let's take out men who are established and they could if they wanted to.
Okay.
I think there's this idealized concept that the more women he has, the more valuable he is. So it's not really about what he's in position to do for them. He needs the attention from them to feel like something he may not really believe about himself.
Right.
And
Can you
that's
see that? Is that a possibility?
That's ego. That's his
Exactly.
ego.
It's an
That he
ego
needs to
thing.
go sit on somebody's chair and a couch for.
Exactly.
That
Thank
doesn't have anything to do with the way polygamy was set up
No.
to work. So
Right.
like again, kings multiplied legacies. Clowns just multiply drama.
Well, even if you take the polygamy side out of it, I mean, men still gonna want to sleep with multiple women, regardless if they providing for them or not. They could care less about provision. They just trying to get the notches up on their belt. It is an ego thing for sure. I said
So
for me,
that's not polygamy. That's being whorish.
you are correct.
Exactly.
And men don't care what title you put on it; they just want to do it. That's it.
A very
Well, I guess what I find interesting is that is like you're saying, we men don't care what title they put on it as long as they're able to access it or able to do it until it doesn't work for them.
Mhm.
Then you want to put a different title. I think that is the beef that a lot of the women are having outside of biblical, outside of, let's call a thing. Because one minute you all good with, the system as long as you win.
Mhm.
But once the other dude gets the upper hand on you, now all of a sudden you want to throw a flag on the play. Absolutely not. It's going to run two ways. So if that's what you're doing, like she said, you got to come with your receipts, you got to come with your land, all that. If you're throwing those different things around and everybody's calling themselves a king, everybody's a monarch all of a sudden, but don't nobody got the things that she was saying in their kingdom. Where is your kingdom? Where is your status? Where is your honor? Where is your integrity? Where is all this king stuff for all these king attributes that you're trying to bring or that you're demanding? So, but you definitely are not commanding. I think there's a real issue here and a misconception, and we need to break down, like she said, some people need to sit on some couches. We need to break down some of these words, figure out what we're doing, and go back and learn and understand what exactly is going on. But people like to do these systems until it blows up in their face.
Mhm.
Then all of a sudden they don't like it no more, and then it was a bad deal, and then they on there sitting on the couch and they tell me I'm ready to tell my story, and then all that drama.
Let me ask you guys a question. And it was spurred by what we're talking about now. So we talked about some of this is a consequence of the male ego, right? Which 100% agree. Do women have egos as well? And if so, is this why they demand so much attention from the opposite sex and sometimes of the same as well?
I believe women have egos, but our ego sometimes trips up in a different way. I think ego with a woman or a woman comes from a lack of affirmation generally. So that's where I believe that an ego comes from with a woman is going to be lack of affirmation, whether that was not given early on, like we were saying, those broken relationships, because you got to kind of find your way and you got to find who you are and find your groove and everything so far as your identity, your roles and all of that's been confused, especially if it's been snatched away from you or if something has happened to some kind of trauma. So as you're building back who you are, you're navigating, trying to figure out who you are. So yeah, it's going to come with some ego, maybe some aggressiveness, maybe some can I be myself? Let me be real. It's going to come with that because you're still identifying where you fit because you didn't have a role model, for whatever reason, and affirmation and those traumas and things were broken. Now, there's a difference, I believe, in confidence and then ego. It may be a fine line, but there is a line, in between those. But I think that generally comes from lack of having affirmation early on and that brokenness there that you're trying to work on.
And just to follow up on Sassy, if you don't know my story, you can go out and grab my book. So I'm very, very, very efficient in telling this.
Mhm.
One of the signs to look for in an egotistical woman is
Mhm.
excessive need for adoration.
See,
So it may not look like a male's ego, but
right.
it's the constant need for validation,
Mhm.
the constant need to be verified about who they are. They want to be poured into. They want to be viewed as perfect.
Yeah.
And that is going into what Professor said. It's building up trauma and self-esteem issues that they had already. but you are fulfilling that ego. Is yeah, especially if you go into spiritual narcissism, because now we have equal statistical male preachers, but we got spiritual narcissism running rampant with female preachers and prophets and pastors as well. And so when you start hearing sermons that's all about I did it, this is my church. These are all the signs that you start to look for when a female is operating from a point of ego, because they won't call it ego because they're directing the word ego to men.
Exactly.
A
They just
fantastic point.
consider a little bit more.
Ted, did you have something to say on this?
I can just second the women with that. I agree with them 100%. Like I said, the instances that I've had when it comes to the ego of women, I think a lot of the time the affection or the adoration that they need, it may not just come from sexual contact. It's a heart on a picture, a like on a post. So it's different. Like I say, it's the same, but it's different ways of showing it. For me, it was the notches. For the men, it may be notches under the belt. For her, it's, oh, you look good today. And she might not even respond to the dude. You know how some dudes write their whole love letter and she just give it a thumbs up or a heart, and it's like, dang, I done poured my heart out to you, and this what I get. So yeah, it's part of it. I agree with the ladies 100%.
You know, it's such a good point to make, because I think it's uncomfortable because we want to box our women into a category that is comfortable for us to think of. We don't want to think that the one who is supposed to love us is capable of being narcissistic, or let me just be real. The worst man doesn't want to believe that his woman has the capability to be as bad as him or worse. And I think it's important to have these kind of conversations, because I do see that it is running rampant, because we can hide behind intellectualism and spirituality, but those who've got discernment can see right through it. Yep. Excellent. Everybody, if you guys are enjoying this conversation, can y'all show some love to Sassy Professor, to Tez, and to Prophet Harmony if you guys are enjoying the conversation? Because I want to pivot to a little bit of a lighter conversation that I think is engaging still. So let's ask the age-old question. What does he mean when he says he wants better communication? But what does she mean when she says she wants better communication? Both of them are saying the same words, but they're both producing two different outcomes. What's the problem here?
I guess, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, for me, communication is, are you listening? And I think a lot of, especially with men, a lot of the times we will just talk, you just do. You figure it out, you do. And even with my father is 67, he's just had a birthday in August, 67, 68, and he just did. So when it comes to expressing himself, he don't really know how to engage, especially when it comes to more emotional conversations. And that's one of the things with me and my wife. It was certain barriers that I had to break down with her, because it was like, hey, I need somebody to talk to about this. But the example that I had was, you don't tell your woman nothing. You don't cry in front of no woman. And it's like, if my wife is supposed to be my safe space, where I'm supposed to go to get this out? So communication for me was being able to open up and finally realize that, hey, you got a safe space here, because if you married her, that got to be your safe space. Now, you got the brothers. My brother CJ was in the chat. Now, I can go to CJ at any time and talk to him. But when it comes to that relationship communication, like, baby, how we going to pay the bills? What's the strategy for this? What's the strategy for that? That's one side. In the relationship, I'm vulnerable. I'm afraid. That's something that men can't say. I'm scared. That's embarrassing for a man to say. But I'm open enough to tell my wife, baby, I don't feel good about this. What should we do? So communication for me on my side is, as a man, being able to open up and let your wife know, hey, I may have to view myself as Superman, but I'm glad to know that I can be Clark Kent around you.
SIR HALE, let them cook.
That was good. That was good. Ladies, what are your thoughts on this? She says, I want communication. He says the same thing. They're both producing different outcomes.
So I'm gonna it seems like me and Tez are going on opposite extremes. So I'm gonna take it the other way, Tez. I love you though. All right. So everybody, let's say communicate. Just communicate with me better, right? But what happens when you're communicating with, or when you're communicating with someone and their information is based on delusion and lies? So how do you communicate? How do you effectively communicate with someone who's wearing a mask? Because at that point, you're just exchanging performance. And so when you're dealing with pathological liars who can fabricate entire realities, then at that point, is it really communication? So I like to give examples, right? And so you're a rich business owner on one hand, but you align one on the other hand because you got people paying off your debt. Or on one hand, you're friends with celebrities, but when the celebrity died, they don't let you into the funeral. Or on one hand, you have a global ministry, but you don't say that they didn't know you. You sent yourself over there. And so that's not communication, sir. That's propaganda. And so when you're dealing with certain people, they're not trying to communicate to connect. They're trying to communicate to control a narrative. And so you can have screenshots, you can have threads, you can have police reports, you can have witnesses, you can have death certificates and all of that stuff, and they'll still communicate and say you're crazy. But so let me tell a story real quick. Because once upon a time, but not that long ago, in the land far, far away, but not that far away, that is right where we find ourselves in the text. And that's exactly what the serpent did. And so the snake did communicate. If we're talking about it in this context, the snake did communicate, but it bent the truth just enough for it to break. And so the minute that truth bends, communication then becomes contamination. And so I like to bring it around to Madea. Madea said, funky pair of lips to say anything. And so for me, I don't want the exchange of noise. You can keep that communication. But what I do want in our communication is the exchange of integrity. And so just a real quick commercial break right here. As healed people, we fact check before we feel.
That's right. I completely agree with what the prophet is saying. I wanted to say this. When we're looking at communication, it's different levels of communication. One thing that I noticed with communication is all communication is not effective because all communication is not honest, like what prophet is saying. Even like she's going back to the garden, that communication was not honest. And you see the fallout that we actually had due to that said communication. Now, what's interesting is people always say, tell me how you feel, tell me this, this, and this. But if you tell them, you can be reprimanded for your honesty. You can be reprimanded for your honesty. So people are saying they want communication, but the real truth is, how much communication do you really want? And I think that happens a lot in relationships, because we'll say we want communication, but you really don't want the truth, like Jack Nicholson said. You really don't want it. We just say that we do. The other thing is this, when it comes to communication, is this. It's not always that person, because a lot of people, they're the tone police. And well, I didn't like how you said it, and it was your tone, and this, and that. But when do you graduate and grow up from me having to say it exactly in the right tone to you being able to hear it in the right tone? When do you graduate? Why do I always have to say it exactly right, but you can't never hear it in the right tone? Especially if you know me, if we solid, you know who I am, you know where I'm coming from. You know, when do you learn to hear it right?
Okay,
for it to be effective communication.
We got to let that breathe. That is so big right there. That is, now I hear men talk like that. Yeah. I don't very much hear women say what you just said. When do you graduate to where you can hear it right? Church, the offering plate is getting ready to come. Give as best as you can. That's a fantastic point. Okay, please continue to cook.
So just to give an example of what Sassy is saying, because I'm a visual person. I give an example exactly what she's saying. Mm-hmm. You can be in a conversation texting someone, right? And what you're saying in the text message is true. And they will call you an absolute liar on the text message and then call you and say, well, you were right, but I just felt like you were judging me. Well, you can feel like I'm judging you, but that doesn't change the fact that what I just text you was the truth. So that's just an example. Let's back up, sexy.
So, so let's do this. I like to give examples of this. So let's say a man is with a woman with a man. They're together, and they keep on butting heads. A couple is together. They keep on saying, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna talk. It always ends in an explosion. Somebody gonna be mad, and they never get to a resolution. Why does this happen?
I think it happens, like we were saying, the tone police, whoever that is in the relationship, is going to have an issue with tone.
Whatever you say.
I also think this happens because when I'm looking at all the data and the information, a lot of men always are stating, yo, honor is a big thing. So I think sometimes, or most of the time, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe most men hear honor through tone. So if a woman is expressive or passionate or whatever we want to call it, and her head is moving and her head is bobbing and her hand is maybe like this or whatever, I believe that tone and that expression is giving him what he would consider disrespect, when it really could just be something that she's trying to really convey, like, yo, I'm passionate about this, I've got a fear here, I'm intimidated. And I don't think our tone is read as I'm scared. It's read as you disrespectful. But when a woman is rearing up or something like that, it is something that has unnerved her and she's afraid. There's some level of fear, insecurity, some type of stability, something that's not being met anytime a woman is rearing up. We're not rearing up just to be rearing up. We got other things to do, So if she's rearing up, if she's or if she's doing something, you're not preparing a secure environment. A man's number one need is supposed to be honor. A woman's number one need is going to be security. Something is not secure if your woman is rearing up, and you need to figure out what it is that's making her come with the thunder, so to speak.
Yeah, I would add as well, you might not know how to communicate with your person. Everybody, I'm an extremely blunt and honest person. But sometimes I have to, what they say, you have to add some salt, or some sugar to the solution. So I know my bluntness, like I said, hearing it different. Like I said, you got to know how to communicate with the person you're supposed to be communicating with. I know for a fact that the way I communicate with my person may not be the way I can communicate with somebody else, because we got that level of understanding that's completely different from a stranger or from somebody I'm cool with, but they might not be able to receive what I'm saying the way that I may say it to my partner. So I think, especially the way in the scenario that SIR Hale's put out, you have to understand the communication pattern between your person. For me, I'm the type of person, if I'm upset, I'm going to say what I got to say. I'm going to go off. I might leave, sit down, come back. Babe, I'm sorry. I was a little rough. I apologize, because I know that she doesn't enjoy the way that I may have to get that steam off. So I get the steam off, but I still go back downstairs and apologize. And let me have an open ear. Let's talk about this for real. So you got to know how to communicate with who you communicate with.
Fantastic. That scripture comes to mind. A soft answer turns away great wrath. So everybody, I want to be clear, because Duster put a great comment in there. We're not saying that tone doesn't matter. We're just saying that listening makes as big of a difference as the way that the tone is coming across as well. We need both of those. Prophet, did you have something to say on this one?
I just need you to be able to comprehend, because I can talk all day long, and if you can't comprehend, it does no good. So both parties need to be able. It's reciprocity, this entire process. And so one of the questions I have for people who want to get married, or for married people who come in to me to talk, right? If you know marriage is about two people and you know you don't know how to communicate, then sir, you're not ready to get married. Ma'am, you're not ready to get married. If you can't have a conversation with your husband without puffing up, then you're not ready for marriage. There's some things that you need to handle separately and then come together. So for me, then it becomes, this is common sense. Why are we talking about this?
Common sense ain't coming in
Common,
2025.
look, I like you, Ted. You acting like my grandma now. It ain't. It's not. You would be surprised. Common sense is not common.
No, it's not.
We know more Bible than we know how to say hello and speak to each other.
Well, they don't know the Bible either. So no, they don't, prophet. They don't know the Bible. They know parts of what somebody told them was in the Bible, but it's not even in there, most of it. So they don't know the Bible either. But I do want to talk to the tone. I hear a lot of people make excuses when it comes to tone so that they don't have to comprehend and effectively communicate. But I'm sure the serpent in the garden didn't have an attitude when he told her, hey, eat this, this fruit. I'm sure he said that thing real sweet. So when I say, you're gonna die, real soft, or when I say, we're gonna F and die, hey, both of them got the same consequence. I think people are making a lot of excuses when it comes to tone just so you don't have to grow up and so that you don't have to be mature and so that you don't have to deal with whatever the situation is at hand. But as the prophet said, if you're going to come into a marriage, it's where two is becoming one. When both of those personalities, all of that is coming in, going together, then you are going to have to learn to communicate effectively with said partner. And if you're not able to do that, then you are not cut out for marriage. That's just the bottom line, because this is your teammate. You got to be able to effectively communicate. And because we can effectively communicate, that's why the marriage rate is going to hell in a handbasket, especially in Christian homes. So you're going to have to be able to communicate, and you're not going to be able to be emotional and all gone behind tone. Not if you're going to survive. Now, if you're not going to survive and you're going to be in that other number, go ahead, police the tone, worry about every little thing. Jesus in scripture called somebody a dog. I'm sure he didn't say that with the sweetest tone. And that was the Lord that ain't did no sin. So just imagine people that's sinning like we is might call you a couple of things in a marriage, depending on where the temperature is or what's going on at that particular point. So I think we really need to look at that and take a lens back on that. And like I said, a lot of people make a lot of excuses just so that they don't have to grow up.
Let me answer this as well. So everybody, let me just say this other part. If you have one-sided sensitivity, you're going to be a problem as well. And by that I mean, you are real critical about how they give it to you. And then when they're telling you that you're doing the exact same thing to them, it's like you just shut down and you are in complete disbelief. Like that one-way sensitivity is a fast track toward you being single and being alone, not because you chose to, but because you don't have the communication skills to nurture a relationship. Have you guys seen that before? Like somebody is when it's done to them, but they are completely oblivious or just arrogant when it comes to them doing the same thing.
Yes, selective outrage.
That's one of the traits of narcissism as well.
Yes, correct. And selective outrage, like she said, that narcissistic trait that we covered. But, you can dish it, but you can't take it. Like you said, that the grandmamas would say, you can dish it, but you can't take it. And that's why I was saying we really got to grow up if we're going to make these things actually work, if we're going to have a viable marriage. Because the truth is, both of y'all came from different backgrounds. And whatever personalities, traumas, things you've been through, relationships, past experiences, whatever you dragging in, them dead bodies that you're dragging in that you're gonna have to clean out, that's gonna become something that you're gonna have to deal with. I think a lot of the times we sweep it under the rug like that pink elephant to get bigger and bigger and bigger because we don't want to deal with it. But you have got to make sure that you're not selfish. That is the root of most divorces, is going to be selfishness because of selective outrage, one-sidedness, unmet needs, unspoken needs, and just flat out lying, not saying what you need. That's a big thing too.
Excellent. Anybody else have any thoughts on this one? Y'all are straight up cooking tonight. I just want to put that out there. Let's pivot, everybody. I want to try to get us out here in the next 21 minutes. Here's the other one. So are we repeating handed down dating and mating cycles. Is that what we're doing? We think we're doing something new, but really we're just repeating what we saw.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah,
I believe
think,
we're repeating the bad ones.
right, for definitely. Like I said, that go back to what we were talking about earlier when it comes to on the male side, when it comes to getting notches on you under your belt with the sexual side. Somebody continuously told me that I wasn't a man unless I did X. I had uncles, I had brothers, I had cousins that said, if you ain't got this amount of bodies, you ain't this. You ain't a man. So of course it was you take on the ideals of people that's around you. I didn't know nothing about, especially the way I grew up in a church of God in Christ. I ain't know nothing about bodies. I ain't know nothing about none of that. So all of my influence was teaching me you not a man unless you have X amount of bodies under your belt. So that's what I ran with. So yeah, we are definitely handling it, especially on the male side. I said something in the man community that may be considered crazy. I teach my son, well, my son's little, 4 and 2. But I was telling my brother CJ, I want my children to be virgins until they marry. Now I know that's insane in 2025 when you got OnlyFans and all this other stuff. I get it. But I also know the damage that they cause. So I want to be the one to break the cycle and tell my sons, hey, it ain't cool. We don't need to do that. Wait until you get married to do this. Because that's what it was set up for. So yeah, we definitely handling it down, and it's way more toxic than it is positivity in it.
Yo, let me just jump in before the ladies go. Tez, you bring up such a good point. When I was coming up, I never wanted one woman. I'm gonna tell you why. Now, ladies, don't you cuss me out. I can look at your eyes and tell me if you cuss me out with your ocular vision. It's because as I was coming up, I didn't really see a whole lot of peaceful wives who spoke kindly and who was decent and respectful. It was just temperamental and angry and could barely get a decent meal. Folks not wanting to clean, ain't never happy about nothing. I mean, you could say he could have been better, but some of them dudes was trying. And it's like nothing was good enough. And it was because she had stuff she didn't work on. And so the gentleman that I saw is like, you keep a couple of them. You got your main, and then you got the ones who you have fun with. So when your main is acting out of order, so y'all don't have conflict, go with your other one, y'all chill. And she know that it's not serious. She know that it ain't going no place, and she ain't gonna be upset. But at least you kept it 100. I thought that as well because that's what I saw. Until you meet God. And God is like, if you're gonna do this, there's a certain order. Like God don't have any side pieces want to come with us. And if anybody had the right to, he did. Yet he chose us, and he's committed to us. And so if we're going to be men of God, then we have to do that. I'm simply saying that when you're around something, you really do adopt that mindset. And even you adopt feelings you've never felt because that's what you're around. So Tez, thank you for opening up. Ladies, what are your thoughts on this?
You going first, Prophet?
If you will allow. Okay.
Okay, go
ahead. I believe we're absolutely repeating cycles. I'm gonna put my head down because I don't want Sir to kick me off. We just put fake designer clothes on it and on generational trauma, and then we call it preference, right? So a lot of our intimacy and our patterns that developed started in rape and survival, right? So during slavery, sex wasn't covenant, right? It was commerce. And so those patterns never were buried. They was just baptized. So we learned to perform for safety and we fake for protection. So now sex is just a transaction. And so you have people now that aren't even planting seeds. It's just they collect and supply, right? They jumping from bed to bed, not because they are in love. And it's not because God told them to. God didn't tell nobody to secretly fornicate with people, whether they men or women or married or not. It's just you running low on egotistical adoration. So here you can use this later, sir. The king of lies is ugly and he stink. But what he doesn't do is he doesn't create new tactics. He just rebrands old traumas. So we're repeating cycles, not because we wicked, it's just because we wounded.
Yeah.
Okay, Tez, I think what's going to happen here is you and I are going to finish the show. That's the professor and prophet. That's it for them tonight. What do you agree?
Yeah, they cooking too much, bro. I can't keep up with this, man.
Excellent stuff. Now, it's an interesting thing you say this, because you're saying that there are no new tactics. What's new to us is just really a rebrand. Underneath, the mechanics of it is just the same thing.
Mhm.
And I think this is why it's important to have these kind of conversations, so that people understand you're not going through anything new. It's just be rebranded. The enemy is a great marketer. He knows precisely how to reach his demographic. It's just repackaged. Is the same old tactic. Now, lady, sassy prophet, did you have a sassy professor? I probably said it right. Yeah, something to add to this as well.
What's interesting is I agree with everybody. I think we're just reestablishing dysfunction. Anytime that I was in a class and one of my apostles said this, and I thought, wow, this is really something. He was saying, anytime a family doesn't answer a call from God, then they keep doing the same dysfunction that they were previously doing. So the new generation has nothing left to build on. So you keep just regurgitating everything that you do over and over, which is leading to what some would consider biblically as your generational curse, or what we think is behavioral patterns. Something else I find that's interesting is this. From both of you men speaking on here, I always have a issue with this here. People that are happily married, they hardly ever speak. You hardly ever hear from them. And that's for more than one reason. For one reason, you hardly ever hear from them because the people that are unhappily married are so loud and can't be quiet because they're so unhappy. But the other reason is that the ones that are happy, they're always picked apart when they come on to try to tell you what made them happy or how it actually worked for them. The other thing is, like I said, especially unhappy men and unhappy women, but unhappy men seem to talk to other men a little bit more, or is more accepted than unhappy women. When a woman is unhappy, she'll still kind of fake it, because we going back to ego, we want to kind of play like it's cool, for the most part, unless it's just so detrimental that it's out that ain't nothing we can lie about. But it seems like the bro code or the men seems like y'all kind of share that a little bit more amongst yourselves, and even glorify that a little bit more in the music, in the media, or whatever have you, until it spins out of control, like some of the other hosts that may had to pay $50 million to certain people, or something like that. Once it costs, then all of a sudden it's different. But I noticed that it's a little bit more magnified on the male side for that particular thing. But yeah, we are definitely just recycling. And I would like to know, why don't the more happily married men correct these other group of men that are, just talking wild and don't know what they're talking about? Why don't we shut them down more than what we do? I would call some names, but we're on YouTube. I don't want to, start nothing too much. But it's a couple of them. They're having shows all the time. They got people on there that talking all out the side of their neck, and I'm like, you don't have no fruit. Ain't been married. Can't keep one woman or 10. Ain't got nothing going on for yourself. Just complaining, fussing, whining, beating the wall. In a fetal position, doing all that. You steady complaining and not getting anywhere, and leading a lot of other men and other people astray. So I want to know why a lot of men that are stronger, men that are married, men they don't say, yo, young school, that ain't what it is, dog. You're going to end up being in a nursing home by yourself or whatever. I don't know why they're not being corrected, or on a mass scale corrected. Why are we allowing them to glorify this more so, is my...
Well, I give my perspective on it. Number one, I think a lot of people are so closed-minded that even the people that got experience, if you tell them, they don't care, because they think they right. So SIR HALE did a show a while back. I've been rocking with SIR HALE a long time. And he was talking about, the thing was, he used the fact that he was a married man, and he was talking to a bunch of single men, and they was like, SIR HALE was like, how you gonna tell the married man about relationships? But because it's a lot of men that's so closed-minded and they think that they way is right with no results, they'll fight you to the end of the earth. That's why I say all the time, and this gonna be a little ratchet. I say this all the time. when the good, I say it about women, but I'm a flip it. I'm gonna say it how I say it.
Okay.
When the good women are quiet, the hoes got the microphone.
Gotcha.
That's why you have to have some type of pushback when it comes to the. You 100% right, sassy professor. The married men that's truly happy and doing everything they can to be right. Ain't none of us perfect.
Right.
But we doing everything we can to be right. We gotta be them shining examples of, hey, if you do this, it can work. But it's so many men that's hurt that just want the women. They ain't got time to listen to us, because listening to married men is, man, I want to do what I want to do. I'm doing my thing until it runs out, like you said. Then it's like, oh man, I might need to talk to Ted. And I hope they do. I hope they come to SIR HALE as well.
Yeah. I guess the reason I'm asking is because I see an overwhelming demographic of people, like in the male perspective, and not you two, because I'm on here with you two, but I see a lot of men when we go over this particular issue, they say, well, men ain't gonna listen, so that's why we talking to the women. And I'm like, nah, you need to go straight in the battleground, where the other hard heads is, because as soon as a woman tell a man something, a man say, you can't tell me how to be a man, so you need to let us do us over here, and you need to do that over there until we call you in and ask for your perspective, or vice versa. But I think some of them are afraid to go in with these hard heads, but it seems like most men, if they were reared the way you guys were saying, they was those hard heads. You need to, y'all group got to go back to y'all group, just like we got to go to the hoes that y'all was talking about.
So let me jump in here and let me be 100% transparent with you. So I'm glad you asked this question. I really appreciate it. But let me build upon what Tez said. So you can't just have a conversation with men about this.
Okay.
They have to see something. And the truth is, I have never met a man who was mostly happy with his wife, even in a good marriage.
Okay.
I think there is a presumption that a man, tell the men who are happily married, let them talk. Well, if we think that a happily married man only talks about the happy times and how good it is, then we just missed what a good husband is.
Right.
In order to be a good husband, you have a lot of sacrifices to make.
Yes.
There is a lot of character development. There's a lot of things you go through to be that kind of good man. And I think where we make the mistake at is we try to sell the aesthetics of a marriage and not the mechanics, not what's under the hood. And when you're talking to real men, you can't go saying, hey, look at the color of this. Look how cute it is.
Right.
What are the mechanics of it? What do you do when she doesn't listen? Like, what do you do when she doesn't clean? What do you do when she's moody all the time?
Right.
What happens with postpartum depression? What happens when she doesn't give you sex? And she always blames you, and she never, right? So a lot of the men who you see are just trying to have a voice to speak and not be shut down because you less of a man. See, if you was a better man, then she would be giving you some. If he was a better man, she would keep it clean. Every time a man speaks on his issues, it is twisted, and then he becomes penalized, and then there's an indictment on his masculinity. And so that's why a lot of men, and then you take a lot of the men who do talk about marriage, they get their concept from other women. This is why they don't resonate with men. So this is the so you have to have married men who can tell you, look, you ain't gonna always have happy times, bro.
Right.
Let me be honest with you.
Right.
Like some days, like there's gonna be some times in your life where your sex life ain't gonna be hidden, and it ain't always be her. Sometimes your stress level and you ain't gonna be able to get it up. But here's what you do in the situation. Like it's having those real conversations. That's what men are looking for. And simply, a lot of men are unwilling to have this conversation because it exposes them that they haven't even been honest with themselves.
Right.
And you flip this in the land of social media. If you start talking about your marriage, well, guess what we're gonna do? Let me go click on the wife. Let's see what the wife look like. Let's see what she's talking about. And so now opening up yourself exposes you and your whole family. Because if you have one chink in your armor, it's in terms of men, that's enough to make people say, I'm not listening to you at all. You could have 98 things right, but the two things that are an issue serve as evidence that I shouldn't be listening to you. And that goes back to what Tez says, because we think we're right. So anything that you give me that I can use as a reason not to listen to you, I'll use it. Forget the 98. I'm focused on the two.
Yep.
Right. I guess I'm looking at if that's the fact, because I've always been told, specifically by men, that you guys were more of the logical species. So I'm looking at this from a logical standpoint, just logically, that if you got 98% of what I don't have, or if you've got something completely that I don't have, I don't understand why they would not be listening, as you were saying, to a person that's got what you're actually desiring. Same with business owners. If I want to learn how to be a business owner, I go to a business seminar. If I want to, learn how to cook, I go to a class for a chef. I don't understand why logical people, especially men, because y'all are supposed to be the ones that were logical. Remember, we have the tag of being emotional, but it's seeming like it's more emotion being shown, on this side here. And I'm trying to decipher, is it just them really not wanting to do it at all? Because most men, from what we're polling and from what they're saying they really want to be married. So if they really want to be married, this right here doesn't make sense in the whole breakdown of what they're saying, especially if they're completely unteachable and unwilling to learn.
Well, I promise her here, I'm gonna make it quick. I think for men and women, it does matter how we talked about tone. I think it's also matter how it's packaged. If a homeless man tells me how to make $1 million, and somebody that look like Sir Hale in a nice tie or whatever tell me how to make $1 million, who you think I'm gonna listen to first? The brother that look like $1 million, or the person that's a bum on the street? The bum on the street could actually be the millionaire, but because he's dressed like a bum on the street, in my mind, oh, he don't know nothing. That's the exact same way it is when it comes to advice, no matter what. Like Sir Hale said, a man could hear 99% of what he want. He could go look at Sir Hale's wife and be like, she ain't no dime. He could look at my wife and be like, oh, she ain't no dime piece. She ain't 125 pounds. He don't know what he's talking about. But I got everything that he want. My house paid for, 2 cars, children, everybody healthy, bills paid, house. Got everything that he say he want. But because he see that one thing that don't match his fantasy, it's all out the window. Women do it too, by the way.
That's what I was going to say, because it seems like that we're giving the men a lot of leeway on this, because I was even looking at somebody like Steph Curry. His wife is, I guess, what we would consider conventionally attractive, or either Russell Wilson. I hear a lot of men, that was what they were considering. I thought was one of the like archetypes or epitome of manhood. He's got all the money that you want. He's a football star, got all this, got the supposed dime and all that. They ain't listening to them either. So that's why I'm like, to me, it looked like you're just unteachable and don't want to listen to nobody.
Well, so there's reason. So listen, I'm going to pivot this, but there's reasons why. So when it comes to men, it's not the stuff. It's I told you, it's that one glaring thing for a lot of men.
Whatever it is. So they're unteachable.
No.
That what you're saying?
No. So it's, you have to. Men are not as afraid of marriage as they are of divorce or getting with a woman who rips who he is. And the issue was not with Russell Wilson himself. It is what they perceive he accepted. So the way that she dressed, the way that she said certain things, songs coming out about not needing a man. Because the truth is, and it's untalked about, men see men through the lens of the wife. So we never see a man directly. We see him through his wife. And however his wife portrays herself, respectful, highly educated, so on and so forth, we see that man. That man could be a raggedy dude. But if she presents herself, because even the Bible talks about that a wife is a crown to her husband. So it's the first thing that we see. And so that was what was talked about here with Russell Wilson. It was not him as a man. Is that he came in as a stepfather. She had given her years to somebody who was considered a dog. It was all of those things. And for men who want good marriages and good wives, that's something that is like it's a blemish, because a lot of men who've been in those situations have bad outcomes. So that's where that comes from.
Okay. Because I was wondering, because I was going to say, it's looking like that they're just making this excuse. Like you say, they see this one thing like, but nobody's going to have it perfect 100%. So if that's what they're looking for, whoever the they is, it's just not gonna work for you. Because
And
everybody got a chink somewhere, even in happy marriages.
I'll say this last thing as well. So for so long, we have said that men are more logical, women are emotional, because we were divided into groups. Women typically stay more relational with the children, cook, clean, so on and so forth, while men hunted. The truth is, we are both as emotional and logical. It's just that men don't have the ability to be as expressive, but we all share the same thing, and it's necessary because we would be mad men and women expecting our women to understand us if they're not logical, and for men to relate to our women if we're not emotional. So we are all the same things. I think that we have wrongly branded each other and not giving each other space to be more than we actually are.
Right. Yep. I can agree to that. That's what I was looking for. That's why I was like, so on the logic standpoint, what is the explanation for these particular things? Because I don't get to talk to many men, as you say, because most men are not going to open up. They're not going to tell you. Or if you do have some that tell you, you may talk to you two that are on one wavelength, and then I talk to somebody else, they give me a whole nother something else about it. So it's kind of hard as a woman to know really what's the real deal here, because you got different groups of men saying different things. You got the men that's pandering, you got the men that's the real deal, that's really like, no, this is what it really is. And then you got the men that don't want to talk about it at all. So it's somewhat hard to kind of understand you guys navigate if we're not listening to, you know, the guy on the up and up, or who's actually got the fruit. So that's why I was posing that question.
Tez, I want you to get in here as well. And Prophet, I want to get in here. The reason men don't open up, and I'll be honest, is for men, most of our experience is if we don't say something right, he's less of a man. Okay. Is something wrong with him? He's weak. He's not who he should be. And we would rather avoid, because it's a trap that we can't get up out of. As soon as you say I'm less than, and I go into defense mode and try to prove to you why I am, I just look further like I'm what you calling me. So it's like, so I think if we want to have these kind of conversations, it has to be a true safe space. I really want to hear what you're saying and why, and I'll respect that without indicting your manhood if you say something that I disagree with. Would you? Is that a fair point?
Definitely. Or even if I say something that you might not deem as masculine. Like I said, if I say I'm afraid of something, that might make you, oh, he a punk. It's like, no, I'm not. You in some women eyes, especially if they not open to that, they might think you scary or a punk. It's just like, no, I'm afraid of this, but I'll die for you. That's the you gotta be able to do that. So I think a lot of the time when men have that blockade up, it go back to what I said. They don't trust, or they are not able to communicate with the person that they with. And I think for you, if you are looking for the real, or if you looking for real men's opinion, I say, I don't know if you married, I don't know if you got a boyfriend, I don't know none of that stuff. But I think you should talk to men that you truly trust. Social media is strictly for entertainment. I don't care what nobody say. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, entertainment and business. People trying to make money. So you may have a little truth sprinkled in there, but it's always going to be some foolery behind. So definitely talk to some men that you trust and get their opinions on these conversations. Because if they truly love you, they'll tell you the truth.
Right.
I'm gonna say this, and then Prophet, I want you to get in here. They be lying on YouTube. I've seen it in action. They're like, I'll never date this kind of chick. I'll never. And then as soon as they get off this stream, be talking to the very one who they said they would never do that with. So I'll leave it there. But women do the same thing as well. Yeah, I want this. I want this high value. I want this, and then you see them. They be with the exact kind of person they say that they will never get. Folks be lying.
Yeah, that's why I was saying. That's why I'm like, is it that that this is really an issue, or are we just lying, overall? That's what I was trying to get at. That's why I'm like, I don't know if some of this, I think we're just making excuses. I think they really don't want to come up to the standard for whatever the reason is. And right now, that reason outweighs their desire to do marriage or whatever it is. And so they're going to stay there until it doesn't outweigh it. And like you're saying, if it's true, as you guys are saying, that more men are afraid of divorce, why? Let me ask y'all that, because I've heard that before. Why? Divorce has never killed anybody. A lot of, well, it has killed some people, but
so let me explain that. See,
yeah,
you didn't
well,
mean any harm by what you said, but that mindset. A lot of women, because they don't know, if a man gets divorced and he doesn't initiate the divorce, he really wasn't expecting the divorce. And a lot of people just assume that, well, you free, you go date somebody else. When a man loves a woman, it breaks him too. Like, this is something that's not talked about. If a man gets divorced from a woman he truly loved, and let's add some insult to injury. Let's say that he married you and you already had some kids, and he ended up loving you and them kids, and you divorce him, and he put his all into this. That breaks a man. So he may recover, and depending on how old he is, he may not be able to go back and get the same kind of job or have the same energy to be as productive as he was. So now he done lost time, he done lost money, he done lost his woman, he lost access to them kids. So men are afraid of divorce because that literal word means death. Like you can't be what you was after that. And a lot of women today, because if you're cute enough, you can just go find somebody else, or at least initially you can. A lot of men don't have that luxury, particularly if he'd have been working so much and got out of shape and don't look good no more. Like, he got to go back and change his whole life.
And let me add this as well. I tell my wife this all the time. Nobody faults the crew when the ship sinks. They always look at the captain. So no matter if I was the cause of the divorce, no matter she was the cause of the divorce, they gonna look and say, what did Tez do wrong? It's like, wait a minute, I worked 2 jobs, I never cheated, I didn't do nothing. But because I'm the captain of the ship, because I'm the king of the kingdom, when it failed, it's your fault. A lot of men don't want that.
Yeah. So you're saying, so you guys are saying the men are afraid of the failure more than the stain or the stigma of the divorce. I guess I'm looking at it because I'm looking at women. We bear the same thing too, and a lot of times it's more people that blame the woman, especially the way we got this reverse culture, than they blame any man.
Let me ask you this question. I want you to be Prophet. I want you to answer this as well. I want y'all to be 100% with me.
Yeah.
How many divorce parties have you seen for men versus divorce parties for women?
Well, somebody in my family had a divorce party, and he was a man. He's the only one that I actually saw like live in color. But if you're talking about on internet,
in general,
I think it was kind of equal. But I haven't been like really like on those algorithms for that. But I seen somebody literally in our family, that's the guy, have a full divorce party. I never seen any of the women in my family have a divorce party. That's why I was posing that, like, what's the big deal with that? Because it looks like to me, although divorce is awful, don't get me wrong, it looks like to me that living this wayward life with all these women and all of that, you are a serial monogamous, which is just as equal to me as divorce. You're pair bonding and marrying all these women spiritually. You got all these problems. Like you said, you probably got all these children that are scattered abroad or whatever else, especially if you're not doing it and you're reckless out there. To me, you've got way more to lose than if you would have went that way and maybe cut ties and then went on. So I guess it doesn't look like it, although I know the failure and the stigma and that kind of thing you have to work out in your mind. But just apples to apples. One look
it's
uneven.
Not just a feeling of failure. It's not that. And then statistically, most men have children by less women than women do. So more women have children by more men than men have children by more women. But this statistically. The other part is not just this idealized sense of failure. It literally is legally there is something. It is emotionally there is something. It is physically there is something. So it's not just the philosophized, the conceptualized idea of failure. It's like that man really did love and he lost somebody he loved. And if he is not an attractive, a very outgoing person with a great social circle, and we know statistically men's social circles shrink as they get older. If you don't have that, he got to go rebuild and present himself to be this amazing person to somebody who might not take him seriously. So
I guess the question I'm having, because if I'm hearing you correctly, because I'm trying to make sure I'm hearing, because I'm deciphering and running all the data that you guys are saying. So, because at first I thought you guys were saying it was more conceptual. So if it's not conceptual, it sounded like to me that the real issue is that they can't rebrand themselves quickly enough, depending on what age and stage of life they are, is where the fear is coming from.
You see,
That's
this
what
is
it sounds like to woman. I mean,
but
that's probably not
but
fully
this is
what
what
you're saying, but that's what I heard. But
if that's
so
what I'm saying though. Like, so me, like when we be like, hey, look, we scared of 1, 2, 3, it'd be like, we really are scared of 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Like that's it.
well, that's
Right?
what I was asking. So
Yeah.
I'm just looking for logic, because remember when we were talking about communication, it's the way the woman understands it and what I'm hearing, because I'm trying to decipher everything that you guys are saying. And so when you tell me, okay, it's this, and then I say that, you say it's not just that, you know, then you give me 2, and then you give me 3 also. I was trying to see, are they all equal? Is one above the other? Is one lower? Because I'm trying to get a full understanding so I can have full clarity
It's all of them. For
from
men, it's
that.
all
So
of them.
that's why I was asking. That's why I was pushing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like he missed, and so yeah, I'm not saying that what you're saying is bad. I'm saying that men, like a lot of us, we don't even have this the conversational skills to go this deep with it. We just get frustrated and say, "Oh my God!" But I
Right.
appreciate you asking a question. So it's all of it. Like we miss you unless you were a terrible wife.
Right.
And even if you were a terrible wife, if a man stayed, it's because something in him believed that it would change one day if he was good enough. And so you got to deal with that. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe
Okay.
you know, my kids are gonna hate me. You know, maybe my kids never talk to me. A lot of men have reconciled the idea that their kids may not like them until they get old enough to understand what really happened. You got that part of it, right?
Yeah.
The financial hit if he's got to pay some extra or start over again. So it's all of it. And the interesting thing with with your question is if you get all of them with one of them, right? So
Right.
all of them are important, even if he's unaware of that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just the divorce. If men could just write a piece of paper and get rid of her, it would seem easy. But a lot of these men who are with their wives are with them because they love her, straight up. And when that's broken, and he didn't want that, it takes some years to rebuild from that. And then I'll just say this last thing. It seems like a lot of our women can just move on. Like you be like, girl, you do you, girl. You did what's right for you. God shut one door. He gonna open up another door, God. If he couldn't go with you, God was taking you higher and elevating you, girl. God about to do something with you. Watch who come next. Sisters get encouragement. Men get told to go pray and go work on yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I
This
mean?
is
So-
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
So I just prophetically, this whole exchange just proved that trauma doesn't vanish, it mutates. So we just had a whole conversation with male versus female, and I'm listening and we're going back and forth. And it's, if I can honestly say, it's not male view versus women's point of view. Can we also look at this generational thing from a spiritual perspective? Because everything that everybody just explained came from and stemmed from something somewhere else. And so what we're dealing with spiritually is demonic muscle memory.
Yeah.
You can have that one, sir.
I can see that.
Okay. So we're inheriting spiritual debt that really is not ours. So what I will say is healing is rebellion, and discernment is deliverance. Okay. Because in the soft spot right here, even in you three having the conversation, I want to tell all 3 of you that sometimes we're not just breaking up with whatever we're breaking up with. We're breaking up with ancient stuff that's attached that we don't even have any idea. I'm listening to your conversation go back to what my granddaddy did and what these people, I see people in the comments saying what their fathers did. That's generational bondage.
Yeah. I agree. That's what I was trying to flush out and see, like, what exactly are we saying and getting at here? Because as you said, even though we divided it in men and women, I did that for a reason. But some of this, like you said, most of it can be applied to both genders. Women equally have a hard time from divorce. It even shows that the stats say women recover harder. It says like 78% of women or so are left in poverty after divorce. So 9 times out of 10, she don't want a divorce. But the reason that the rate is up that she has went to get the divorce is because generally the man is already shut down on her. As we know, when we deal with divorce, those people that divorce, they done already been gone 5 years before the divorce happened, at least 2, 3 years. You're already out of there. You checked out emotionally is why that 9 times out of 10 that the other partner go ahead and file, especially if it's a woman. So that's the reason that I brought that up. And that's why I was trying to figure out, oh, okay, so this is hard for a man, because I've seen and even heard other men say, hey, they stay in marriages unhappy until she decides for whatever reason. And I do think it's generational. So that's why I was asking and pushing and trying to see, is that what you guys were saying? Was there something else? What was under there? So that's what I was trying to get under.
Yeah, so I'll say this and we can move on. And I appreciate the point you just made, Prophet. That was actually my next question about how do we identify generation curses. You know, the thing is, in marriage, it's not going to always be quote unquote happy. It's not going to always be that way. And it's because we go through things. What we have to do is provide a space to grow. And that growth comes through having very tough conversations. Like a lot of us, we've seen some things and it is somehow sprinkled into our personalities. And it depending on how difficult to get. And every relationship, every marriage goes through a very difficult time. Every single one does. If you haven't been there, you will, because that's what makes you. Sometimes you don't get to that real deep, sweet love until you've gone through enough. And I'm not talking about trauma. I'm talking about capitulating, growing together and going through the changes of life. And so it's good to have this conversation because I don't think women are afraid of marriage like men are afraid of divorce. We don't want to have invested ourselves in something and then it fail. Like if a man chooses to get married, let's just say it's natural that we want multiple women. But we choose to settle with one, we really wanted this woman. Like we really wanted it. And the fact that it is outside of our control. And I will say a lot of men have tried. There have been a lot of good men who've been left because maybe she was immature. And maybe she thought she could do better because they were going through a difficult time in life. Like these kind of conversations are necessary. So people know that if you're expecting perfection from somebody and you're not perfect, you are egotistical and you're going to drive a wedge between you two that's going to end up in result in divorce. Right. So yeah. Any final thoughts on this before we move on? Yes.
I think the answer and the resolve to this is number one, we become better people. Before we even start talking about getting into relationships, getting into marriages, then we got to make sure that our character and our integrity, that we have transcended to a level that we are just a better human being. And then the other thing that I would suggest is if we are so worried about divorce, then why don't we have more support proactively? Why don't we have more premarital counseling, premarital events? When we have newlyweds in our spaces, in our churches, in our leadership teams and that kind of stuff, why isn't there more support on the front end versus having a divorce party on the back end? And that's not a man or a woman thing. That's just a human being thing.
That's a very good question. I would like to say you could come in great, stellar as a person in a marriage. You come in great. You got some kinks you ain't seen until you get married. I thought I came in like this. Like, listen, I came in and SIR HALE Speaks, baby. You know what I'm talking about. And then found out you've got some ways in you, sir, that's not right. And sometimes, like when God uses your spouse, he's using that person to pull at some hard stuff in you that you didn't know was there. And if you don't yield to that process, you can't, like God sent them into your life to make you better. It just really is. And this is why you have to be humble with who you with. Like if you think that you with somebody and you're so smart that you can't take from them, you might be missing your biggest blessing. Like if we think that she got to be this or that, he got to be this or that before you receive from them, it's like God sent that person because they got something that you simply don't have. And if you start taking this idea that I'm better and I've already done my work, I've been to therapy, I got my degree in psychology. You know what I mean? You take that approach, like marriage can do for you what psychology can't.
Amen.
Like marriage can do for you what a podcast can. And you don't get that until you actually get into the thralls of marriage and you are forced to commit. Like commitment will force you to address lust. Like commitment will force you to address your petty ways. It will force you to say, I'm really not a good communicator. It'll force you to say, you know what? I really don't keep things as clean as I should. You know what? I do got some lazy areas in my life. Oh my God, I do overspend. Like marriage will, and it's not that you can't see this before. But I've seen is a person who's counseled. I mean, I'll tell you something. If a person doesn't submit to the work that God's doing in that marriage, no amount of premarital counsel can help that. It's like you can put gas in a car, but if the engine is blown, you got a full tank, but you can't go anywhere because the thing that makes it move is damaged. And so what's that thing? It is the ability to capitulate. Like that's what's needed. So it's not an either or, it's an and. We need all of that to work. So be a good person coming in, but don't think that your growth stops there. It continues as you get married.
Exactly.
Anything that stays stagnant dies anyway.
That's right.
Even go into a marriage thinking that everything that is the way it's going in is how it's always going to be.
Right.
Facts. Okay, y'all. Listen, you already touched on this. So, Prophet, I want you to start with this one. How do we identify if it's a generational curse in a family or if it's simply a bad habit?
So I'm getting ready to release a book in February, Relationships in the Bloody Trail, Escaping the Powers of Spiritual Narcissism, where I deal with this generational curse piece and how you look at family traits, how you look at family habits and family behaviors, and verify whether it's a generational issue or whether it's just a bad habit. But when you have the mother, the father, the children, all of the children being dysfunctional, and then it goes into a third generation where the grandchildren are dysfunctional as well, it is safe to say that there's some vile generational trauma at that point. If it's just a bad habit, usually bad habits you can address and resolve easily. Again, if it's generational trauma, that's more wrestling, unnerving, a loosing that you have to get yourself out of and from in order to deal with generational trauma, because you're not just dealing with self, you're dealing with selves over time.
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna pencil that one. I like that. Anybody else have thoughts on this? We're not just dealing with self, we're dealing with selves. Prolific. Anybody else?
I have when the prophet was saying the generational curse piece, I don't really believe in generational curses. Now, I believe, like she said, there could be a generational pattern, but I think we lean too heavily on the word generational curse. And the reason that I say that is most people are coming from that one particular scripture in the Bible, but they haven't got the full context of it, where it's talking about this iniquity will be visited on up until the third and the fourth generation. But if you roll on over, still in the Old Testament, to Ezekiel chapter 18, it's saying a father and his sins will be accounted to them individually. So God is no longer holding them accountable because the dispensation has already changed by that time. And that is even before Christ, who is the curse breaker. So I think a lot of people lean into that because that's the easy way not to be disciplined, to change the patterns that she's talking about and that she's going to be writing about. But I don't believe that we're under any curses. I believe you can change if you want to change. Now, if you open a door into that sin, and if you know everybody in your family gambles and you keep going on down to Choctaw or wherever, then yeah, you got a propensity already on there, but it's not a definite. You know, if you know everybody get pregnant at 15, then you might want to be looking around 15 like, uh-oh, you know, I know what it is, you know, I can stop said curse said this. In my family, I'm the only granddaughter that went to college and graduated until, you know, now a great granddaughter has. So that could be considered what some people would have allowed to stop them as a generational curse. Also, I'm one of the only ones that's married, and happily married and been married, 21 years. So I think that's an excuse for a lot of people. Not saying that you might not have a door that you might have opened to go back into that, but when they're using that scripture out of context, I just don't believe it. I think it's just a typical pattern that they didn't have the discipline to break or the know-how or haven't came into that level of understanding yet.
I'll give you an example. When you have a father who deals with sexual perversion,
Mhm.
and then you have two daughters and the son who then
Right.
deals with sexual perversion.
Yes.
And then you have the grandchildren now who have some type of issues with sexual perversion.
Mhm.
And nobody in the family thinks it's a problem.
Right. Well, that's what I said. They have a door open in that particular family. And even in the actual Bible, when you go into there under that, it says the curse visits upon those who hate God, not those who love God. It's one particular scripture in that. And when I bring that up to people, they generally haven't looked into that. But because that sin kept going and it was unaddressed and no one stood up to it, it did not stop that. So in that case, yeah, it could be going. But if you're a blood-bought believer in the way that you're standing up and you're giving your testimony and you saying, hey, this stops with me, that can no longer go any further. because of the authority that you have and that you have stepped up and said, absolutely not. Now, the people that are still going to keep that door open, then yeah, they are subject to it, but not you and not the people that have accepted Christ. You don't have to. Now, if you want to go in under it, you can, but you do not have to. It's not like end all be all upon you. No, you've got the authority to break it and to come out from under it if you so choose.
If you so choose.
If you so choose. Now, if you don't choose, you're going to be up under there.
Because
But that's why I say I don't believe in them for blood-bought believers that really, I mean, real deal people that have really accepted Christ, and you know your covenants and you don't have to accept that.
That's what I was going to bring out, because we got a lot of people that are wearing cassocks and wearing crosses that aren't really believers.
Well, that's what
They preach real good, but they are not living the life of a believer. So what they'll do is they'll use grace.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever their issue in their perversion is.
Exactly. That toxic grace is what I'm looking at, and that toxicity. That's why I said no, ultimately.
Yeah, I'm with the Sassy Professor on this. I don't believe in generational curses. I'm an accountability guy.
Yeah.
I think everybody, no matter where you come from, I used to be a poker player. You play the hand that you dealt. I say at the end, you may have 2 aces, you may have 2 twos, but the goal is still to play. And I that's just how I look at stuff. And I agree with the biblical side too. I think with God, all things can be broken. It is not a chain that can keep you bound if you believe. But I also would like, my biggest thing is accountability. So when it comes to generational, my little brother used to say all the time he felt like he was cursed because no matter how many times he tried, he just got knocked down. No matter how many times he did this, it got knocked down. He's successful now because he kept going. And a lot of the times what happened is if you adopt the mindset of I'm cursed, you don't even try no more. You just, hey, I'm cursed. It is what it is. My grandmama was cursed. I'm cursed, my dad was cursed, and you quit. That's why, to me, accountability is the biggest thing. Because if I go and cheat on my wife and she divorced me, I can't be mad at her.
Right.
You made the decision to do this.
Right.
If I decide to quit my job tomorrow and we lose the house, this my fault.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. It's about accountability over everything. And if you truly are a believer, the grace of God unleashes you from all of those things anyway. Now it's up to you.
Right.
I think this is all good because I think pathologizing patterns can lead you to a curse. I believe that. I'll give you an example. Let's say I grew up under a household. I'll see everybody, they just drink. They drink, I mean, drunk, just drink. I don't have that yet. And if I pick up those patterns, I end up dealing with what they dealt with.
Right.
Because their patterns now become my example, and I'm under that. It's important to say that because I think that's true. If we just say, oh my God, I'm cursed, what that does do is that takes off any accountability from you to say, here's a problem and here's what I need to change. Let's just blame it on the curse. And then we can use this concept of grace that God knows my heart, like God knows that I really am trying. Like he sees me and he's still yet working on me. It's like he is, but let's not blame this like God allowed you to be born under a curse because he didn't.
Right, exactly.
Like, I didn't. At this point, it is, and I'll say this as well. The reason I say that is because I did come from a legacy of men who drank. And if I'm being honest with you, mine was straight dark liquor, no ice. Don't you put no juice in there? Put some juice in there, see what happened. See what happened. I need it straight. I need it warm. I like the way it goes down. But is that because a curse was on me, or is it because I resorted to something based on the patterns that I have pathologized? So I love what everybody said. The curse is real, but it is not something that you come in cursed with. It is if you pathologize patterns, you will end up taking on one that God never meant for your life. Yep. Any thoughts on this?
Correct.
Okay, yes, let's move on. Everybody, okay, this is gonna get good. Anybody can go with this one. They crazy. I entertain them. Does that make me crazy too?
Oh, can I speak from experience?
Please.
So I will say here, no, you're not crazy for
Right.
believing what was presented as a lie, right?
Exactly.
Because they came cloaked in charisma.
Mm-hmm.
And you fell for the madness of the initial marketing. So you're not crazy for that. But where the shift happens is when you start seeing the lies, when you start seeing the pattern and you stay trying to translate it, right? So God exposes the pattern or the pattern is exposed and you keep trying to write a new prophecy over it. And so at that point,
Exactly.
it's not discernment anymore. You're worshiping the idolatry of their potential. Okay. So let me just examples. Let me just give an example, right? So you watch somebody judge somebody else's son for smoking weed, right? But they never say that their son is in parking lots doing whatever boys do in parking lots that get caught, right? And then you still go clap and support that person. Or you hear them discourage a member from getting married to a good man because he had a past, but they never actually admitted to their fraud and their money laundering charges while they were pastoring. And you still support them in ministry. At that point, you may have moved in into a little crazy because
Mm-hmm.
you then devalue yourself and then you're believing in the mask. So you're not crazy, but you have lost your rabbit mind when you try to convince yourself that somebody else's mess is your ministry. That's the part when you lose it. And so you can't cast out what's refused through deliverance. And so watch this. Sometimes deliverance doesn't look like the demon leaving. Sometimes deliverance looks like you leaving the demon.
So Prophet, what mountain did you come off of before you came on the show?
Hey, I told you, fire tried. Fire tried. There's nothing I will ever say to anybody that I'm not experiencing or
Right.
that I have not experienced
Mm-hmm.
myself.
See,
Right.
what I appreciate is when we hear stuff, everybody is we're bending our thinking on stuff and it's forcing us to see stuff in different ways. And I greatly appreciate this. Anybody that they crazy, I entertain them. Does that make me crazy too?
I think it doesn't make you crazy because, like she said, 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with somebody crazy, everybody's going to present their best self to you at first. We all got that person, that poker face, that person that you're going to present your resume. You're not going to have, I'm crazy, I'll bring up your car, I'll bust your windows. You're not going to have that on your first resume. What I will say is once you start seeing the signs, like the prophet is saying, and then you do stay, then you may start going into double-mindedness crazy, because now you done seen the signs and you're still there. That may denote a level of crazy or a light insanity or something that once you have seen the signs and you're still there, those red flags that we see that we ignore, that is when we go into crazy. So if you're being fooled, that's one thing. But once you begin to see the fruit and you begin to see it and you continue and keep saying, well, let me go a little bit further, that's when you start entering crazyville. So yeah, that's when you would be crazy.
And
Shout out to the
signs
residents of
of it.
Crazyville. Shout out.
There's signs of it. I mean, biologically, and I think Sassy can back me up on this from a theological point of view,
Mhm.
and from education wise. Your body will start adjusting.
Yeah.
Your body will start giving you signs, right? So the
Yeah.
headaches, the backaches, the
That's right.
numbing. You
Mhm.
on anxiety medicine and having
Mhm.
panic attacks, and you never had panic attacks. And
Yeah.
for me, and I'm being honest, going back smoking. I don't care if it was civil
Mhm.
weed, blacks, whatever, because now you're having now not to deal because it's not spiritual warfare and it's not the demon. It's because you
Right.
betrayed yourself.
That's right.
The knowledge that you had for yourself, your discernment, your boundaries, you have now figured out you betrayed yourself, and
Exactly.
your body is in flight mode.
Yeah. Exactly. And even the anxious attachment, your hair falling out, you having issues that you never had before. Like
Weight
she
gain,
said, headaches, you can't sleep,
Mhm.
things that you never had happen. You go to the doctor to get a diagnosis and they can't find anything wrong. The only thing wrong is you got this other person there in this situation. those kind of things your body will tell you. So that's why sometimes when people say, well, I just don't know, I'm like, your body alerted you. 9 times out of 10, God told you and you ignored him. You know, you had those brushes of those red flags that turned into the Red Sea, but a lot of times we just want what we want. So that's when you want what you want and you've had those red flags, that's when it start going towards Crazyville. Now, at first, you're being fooled. It's all right to be deceived. But like she said, you can't cast out a devil that you're sleeping with. It's just not gonna work for you. You're in full cognizance, with it. You in full compliance with what's going on. You have no authority in that situation. So.
No, I mean the only thing that I agree with the ladies 100%. I agree. Once again, it go back to accountability. You see them red flags and you stand there, that's on you.
Yeah.
I said I done been in situations myself where I was almost drove crazy, but I seen the red flags. It was just they looked pink enough. They weren't exactly red because I had the rose colored glasses, so it threw the color off. So it's like, oh no, that ain't a red flag. It's magenta. That's what it was. It was a magenta. Exactly. And you keep pushing and keep pushing and keep trying to make it work. And next thing you know, like you said, you in the hospital having a panic attack, or they say what they call anxiety attack. And you don't even know why you having it until you get back home, and it's like, whoo, my heart rate going up again. I'm getting a little lightheaded again. So yeah, it can drive you crazy, but you allowing it because you see it, you sleep with it, you eat with it, you talk to it every single day. Therefore, you don't see nothing wrong with it until, like you said, your body and stuff start to betray you, and now you have to figure out why it's happening, and that's usually why.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody, I love what everybody said, but I got to give us a dose of accountability.
Okay.
If you entertain crazy, it absolutely does make you crazy too. Absolutely does. And for 2 reasons. There was something about you that entertained somebody like them. And let's be honest, unless we under 25, you saw it. You just saw more of something that you liked that helped to obfuscate the part that you saw was wrong. So let's be 100%. Most of the time, a lot of relationships fail. We knew it would. We just thought that we could change it. We thought we could put it on them, put it on her, and it could change it. We saw the signs up there and we entertained it. The accountability is on us. And I think we got to be real. In very rare circumstances do people just not see what's going on. It is rare circumstances. But for the most part, yes, you're crazy too. Come on.
Crazyville.
SIR HALE Speaks in the building. Yep. Now listen,
so actually, I just picked up my book, right? And so, we're simply dealing with situations with narcissists and that kind of stuff. But outside of that, so chapter 1 of my book, the quote is, "We don't stay stuck because we don't know the truth. We are well aware. We stay stuck because a fantasy feels better."
Yeah. Amen.
Which leads me to my last question. How do I think I'm with a narcissist? What do I do? So I agree with you saying sometimes trauma will make you create a movie that you star in that's really a nightmare. Like you done fell in love with this ideal of a person, and let's be honest, you think you are something that you're not as well. So both of y'all are acting like y'all are something that you're not. And so the question is, I think I'm with one. What do I do?
Run.
I heard somebody say you run. Somebody say you run.
Well, let me give you the perspective of somebody that be in the YouTube spaces and the Facebook spaces. A lot of the time, this is a attack word. You might not even be a narcissist, but because you may have different beliefs, or you may just be a man that disagree with certain stuff, you're a narcissist just because I don't like something you said. So I think we have to define what a narcissist is. And like I said, that Prophet got that down pat. I already know that. Like I said, but I truly do believe that a lot of the time that is an attack word. But for the people that actually are, I don't know if I've been with a narcissist or not. And the reason why is because, oh, here we go.
There you go.
Okay. There you go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I done been a narcissist then.
I always knew it. I always know.
So yeah, I mean, I truly believe. Oh, I think all of us have been to a certain extent.
Now I'll let the professor get it on this one because
Okay,
she'll explain it.
yeah. She
So
got
there's difference between being a narcissist,
And
having
have
narcissistic traits, which all of us
Right.
do at some point have.
Right. Exactly. 1% of the people have the narcissistic personality disorder. So if you guys have been in the YouTube street, somebody that admitted that they had the actual disorder, now the NPD would be Nick Cannon. He said he has the actual disorder. So only 1% of people have the disorder. Everybody else generally has some part or aspect of that particular narcissism trait. As one of the last shows that we talked about, the trait can be used healthily or unhealthily, because good leaders have narcissism traits. You know, charisma, some of the positive things that we look for are embedded in a narcissistic traits, not necessarily the disorder. So the thing about this is, just because I'm asked this a lot of the times, a person that has the full disorder, can't nobody help them but God. That's a God thing.
able to either.
That's a God thing. That, you know, that's somebody that's above our pay grade. It's just a narcissistic trait. They can acknowledge, they can confess, they can do those still things. Those things are still open to them to be able to do. But the full disorder, that may be above said pay grade, depending on who you are and how you would like to deal with that. But God is the only one that can cure double-mindedness. And that's what that would go under if we were looking in the spiritual connotation of that. God would have to make that mind stable. So it would take him to do that.
Delusion, absolute pure delusion,
Exactly.
can merge
Full delusion.
false realities. Like,
Mhm.
if you've ever been with the narcissist, now add on spiritual narcissism. So you have the narcissistic traits, and then you have the cluster B personalities.
Mhm.
But they have learned to perform on platforms because it feeds their ego and
Yeah.
use the congregation as a supply.
Yeah.
And so now they're behaving in the same way that the narcissist does, but they're doing it in the name of God.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's a whole nother level.
Whole nother level of drama. Yeah, that's
drama.
yeah, that's why I
recently,
say it takes God.
recently I discovered, I forgot who I was watching. I always, you know, psychology is what I love. And she was saying something that I never heard before. She said, a lot of people, you can't even assume that because they go to therapy that they're not a narcissist. And
Right.
she went to explain that sometimes a narcissist uses the therapist as an audience to vocalize
Yeah.
their sense of self, that either paints themselves as a victim or somebody to be praised.
Yeah.
And if the therapist is not astute enough and hasn't been trained in narcissism, they'll go along with it.
Yeah.
And the therapist thinking they're having a good session, and really what they're doing is they're providing that narcissistic supply to somebody who's not coming there to be helped, but coming there to be validated.
That's right.
So you throw the spiritual part on that as well is
Mhm.
exactly what Prophet is saying.
Mhm.
We
I
use
have
the
a
congregation to
chapter.
feed that ego, and we say things like, I'm the shepherd and I'm the one pouring out. Therefore, you should praise and honor me. And it really is just a form of narcissistic supply.
Yeah.
So I have a chapter in the book that's coming up, and it's called "How Do You Love a Therapist Who Needs Therapy?"
Wow.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Yep. So I think it's clear to say that if you're with a narcissist, without you even knowing the term, you'll know. Like
Sure will.
you can't expect empathy. Like you can't accept care. You can't accept,
No.
them being able to make things about you because they have to be the center of the world. They have to be the axis upon which everything, exists. You will absolutely may not know the term.
Right.
But you'll know it because you'll be crushed under them, and they can never hear or see they're wrong because it's not about you anyway. To be honest, it's not really about them. It's about this idea about who they think they are and want to be, and they'll go through great lengths to prove and deceive people that that's who they are.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. Usually, if they do something, it's either because they have an audience or it's something to hold over your head later.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's a whole answer to your question. So it's I love your honesty. You said, I think I may have been a narcissist, would never. They would never. A narcissist would tell you a narcissist.
Exactly. That's right. That's exactly. So no.
Yep. So one of the ways that people can tell is if you care about somebody and you care about their feelings and you care about what you said and how it comes off, you're thoughtful and you are empathetic. Those are clear signs that you are likely not. But I do think that it's important for us to manage our narcissistic tendencies because all of us have them. Like typically, if you were doing great in your lane and you are being exceptional, if you're not careful, you like this. It ain't about nobody but me right now.
Exactly.
So we gotta. This is why the Bible tells us to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, and that He'll exalt us, in due season, because we have that propensity to do that. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, we do. I'm completely in agreement with that, and that's why we see so many puffed up ministries, like what the prophet was saying. So many people. Anytime you hear too many I's in the statement, you can just about know. There's one of them because it's more I instead of what we're supposed to be talking about. I, me. You already know what time it is as soon as you start hearing them two words. I, me, and what I think and what I'm gonna do. You already know, red flag.
Yeah.
I think for people who have been in relationships with narcissists, one thing I just want to say is to be gentle with yourself. Because after you come out of a relationship with a narcissist, there is a level of emotional trauma that you cannot really explain. And so you start auditing yourself and auditing every emotion you have, and it's through guilt. It's through self-betrayal. And so you have to balance self-awareness with self-blame, because that's called trauma-induced doubt, right? And so you're not crazy, but you were conditioned. But just remember, boundaries are holy, and accountability is healing.
This is such a good point. I'm glad you made this. We're gonna wrap up on this one, but what happens if the narcissist is not a romantic partner? It's a parent or a caretaker, and they don't have the ability to separate and to do that healing. Like, how do you deal with something like that? And then let's say they turn 18 years old, and then they introduced to life, and they've been conditioned under the hand of a narcissist. Like, how do you deal with something like that?
It's another chapter that I'm writing. It's called a lot of people associate narcissism with Jezebel. And I talk about the narcissistic mother who uses her son as supply, using the spirit of Delilah, the seduction, the son's preaching. So as a child, how do you escape it? You have a narcissistic mother, narcissist, you can't. I mean, unless for whatever reason move out of the house or you. There's a situation where I know the escape was death. That was the escape. So it's hard to say that for a child. How do you escape that? You don't. And then a lot of times, then the child then becomes some level of narcissistic and have narcissistic traits. If it's your pastor, leave. There's other churches. It's one right down the street. If it's a situation that you can get out of, run.
I think that's the most practical advice. If you can leave. I love that.
I was going to say she's absolutely correct. I've actually had to deal with that as a child. To this day, I don't have a relationship with my mother because of that and a series of events that happened. So I definitely gonna purchase that book. You got to let me know when it drops. What's interesting about that is people will blame the child even though they know that there's some type of issue, even if it's not called narcissism at that time, but they don't know what the diagnosis is. So the child has to maneuver, as she says, and rebuild through all of that. But generally, if it is a parent, you will have to distance yourself for your own safety is what you're going to do, because they're steady tearing you down, even and thinking that they are right in so doing, whatever the tear down is. And ultimately, you have to protect you because unlike normal healthy attachments, they don't have the capacity to protect you. So you have to protect yourself. So once you are able to get away, or if you can go and live with someone else, or once you hit 18, you need to cut that particular bond until they're able to come to themselves, if they're able to come to themselves. And unfortunately, people like to throw around well, you need to forgive them and you need to forgive them. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation when it's an unhealthy relationship.
Right.
A lot of people tell me, you need to forgive. You need to forgive. I did forgive. But reconciliation or a false reconciliation is not godly. It's not biblical. You even have to confess to God, who is perfect, before you could come in and receive mercy or something from him, before you can get your full forgiveness, you have to confess. So the same with that, you do have to acknowledge, whether it's AA or whatever, you got to say, hey, I'm an alcoholic. These are the steps to get the ball rolling towards reconciliation. And if you are unable to acknowledge, there is no reconciliation there. Not possible.
Tez, you got something on this?
To be honest, not really. I think they covered this one pretty much as good as I could cover it, for sure. I said, this is something that, as y'all talking about it, I'm realizing stuff that I may have went through or stuff that I may have to see. So, and this one, I'm more learning on this one instead of having a true opinion. So this is teaching me something.
You know what? I agree with that. Ladies, thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to tell you why I'm thanking you. But can I be candid with you?
Mm-hmm.
In our community, certain conversations are off limits.
Right.
Now, we can preach, we need to be honest.
Yeah.
And then when you get honest, well, you being too honest. You shouldn't have said that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us, the most damaged people protect the people who damage them.
Yeah.
It's a very fascinating thing, how we protect the people who broke us.
Yeah.
We don't want them to experience what they did to us. And we be praying to God that maybe God can get through to them.
Exactly.
So thank you for saying that, because it's a lot of people, a lot of women in particular, who have experienced stuff that they can't tell anybody about.
Right.
And so you see them express it in creative ways, because that's their way of getting what they feel out without throwing the people who did it under the bus.
Yeah.
So thank you for being that voice, and I really appreciate you. We may have to do another something on this one, because I think that it is a conversation we have to have. If you were raised by a narcissist, you become a magnet for people who are users and who are leeches and parasites as you get older, because you've been groomed for that. And I don't think that that's a conversation we have enough in church. We don't have enough as Christians, and I want some good women and some good men to talk about as well. So if I do this show about this, will you guys come back?
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Okay, listen, this is what we'll do. This has been a dope conversation. I'm going to start with Tez. I want everybody to tell me your final thoughts on the show. Tell us what you have coming up and how we can connect with you. Tez, since the gentleman went last, the last shall be first.
So first of all, thank you, SIR HALE, for having me on the show. Thank you to the ladies that was on the panel. Learned a lot from y'all. Happy to share the stage with y'all. I'm Tez Da Fye, or you can Tez Da Fye 87. I have a YouTube page, Facebook page, all that good stuff. I'm starting back on the content, I'm trying to be heavy like SIR HALE. So I have a show, the Tez Da Fye show, that'll be dropping soon, and I also do live streams as well, where I talk about a lot of different things when it comes to relationships, culture, a little bit of politics, but I'm trying to stay out of that. But just to give, I say this, it's two different things that I want to do with my page and my show. I want to be the example that I talk about, number one. If I want Christian husbands and wives and all, if I want men to be in the house with their children, I want to be a shining example of that. Am I going to be a perfect example of that? No. But I want to be the example of what a lot of men and women say that they want out of life. That's number one. Number two, you are the only person that knows the beginning, middle, end, and some of the secret parts of your story. You the only person that know that. So you need to be the one telling your story, no matter how bad, nasty, horrible it is. Be the person that tells your story. Therefore, when you leave, you ain't getting it from a third party. So that's my goal as well.
Tez, you have been a stellar guest. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. We know you're going to be back again soon. Sassy Professor, listen, it has been so amazing. You guys don't know this. We recently had an event, the PII event, And I can't wait to the next one because it was so great just being fed with such good meat. What were your thoughts tonight on the show? What are your thoughts? What would you leave for the people? What you're working on, and how can they connect with you?
Well, my thoughts on the show was I loved everybody's difference and their different perspectives. I love to come in the room with brilliant thinkers and people that are unique. And I really love what the Prophet and Tez was saying because, like they're saying, I don't believe in preaching or teaching anything that I haven't birthed or haven't walked through. So I really was very appreciative of their candor and when they talked about their experience, because as you said, there is a lot of backlash when somebody comes on and gives honesty or gives their truth. So I really appreciate that. Some of the things that I'm currently doing is I am a psalmist singer as well. So on TikTok, I am Sassy Professor. So I've got some music that's coming out. I'm getting ready to do some live things, singing with some music that I made with Suno, teaching a couple Bible studies here or there. PILL, what we were doing with you, and then whatever that we do with that, and some AI stuff with the Creative Space Academy, of course. So those few things is what I have that I'm currently doing right now, and maybe my own Bible study. Every now and then I go in and I teach fog. So fog is what I call Fire of God Bible study. And we call it fog because of the pillar and the cloud that was following, and also that a lot of people have brain fog. So that's why we call it fog, and we try to clear up whatever fog that it is that they are generally having in my Bible study. So my socials, everything should be Sassy Professor or either Shanique James, Facebook, Instagram, all of them should be the same. TikTok. That's what I have going.
You have been an absolute wonderful guest. Thank you so much for being here. So glad that you're on. Prophet, you got 3 strikes on your first show. I don't even know what's going to happen next time. I want to first of all thank you for your time. Like I think we talked, and I'm like, it's something to it, some deep. But what I appreciate is the fact you do it with such grace and such great care, and I think that can't be said enough. So, what were your thoughts on today's show? What would you like to leave with the people, and what do you have coming up, and how can they connect with you?
Gotcha. I appreciate everyone being on this platform. Sir Hale, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. So my last closing words that I do want to say for the people that are watching, God is a healer of the brokenhearted. He keeps a record of our tears in the bottle, right? But we want to make sure that we're not loving the altar more than we're loving the aftermath. We want to make sure that we don't want deliverance and it's just not deliverance, but you want the attention of looking spiritual. And so at some point, we want to stop worshiping wounds, right? And so at this juncture in life and at this season, radical self-awareness is now the grown folks gospel. And so if I had to give an altar call, the altar call would be, don't just talk about healing, finish it. So we're going to finish the good work. There is a journey from healing to healed, and the price has already been paid. We just got to do our part. And so HAE the Prophet is my handle on all social media outlets. I have 2 books that's up on Amazon now. The third one, Relationships in the Blade Trail, which is the 2nd edition of the Read Me Fulfilled series, will be strategically released on February the 14th of 2026. I have some, because I also do spoken word as well. I have some spoken word engagements in Dallas coming up December the 6th. But you can find me on all social media outlets.
Prophet.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have a conversation.
Okay.
We're going to have a conversation about you because everybody listen, we're going to end the show. Professor did it last time. Just be saying so, and then it's going to go on like nothing was just said. Don't worship wounds. Don't start healing, finish it. Come on.
Yeah.
That's everybody. This is, if you're listening to this, it's important. God wouldn't have let you listen to this on accident. I don't want us to fall in love with how great it sounds. You're getting information that reaches you that we can't say we did. It was too complex. It is so poignant. It is so targeted. None of us can miss it. Did you guys enjoy the show tonight? In the comments, everybody's links and socials are part of the comments, and I'll have everybody's information as part of the stream as well. Everybody connect with everybody. As soon as your book comes out, listen, I'm gonna be standing outside wherever it's being sold because I got to get this. Professor, you have a writing as well, right?
No, I don't. I've got a book, but I wrote children's books, so I haven't wrote an autobiography yet. I'm gonna have to get with the prophet so I can write one.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, because we got so much. Tez, I know you got a book coming out, and I'll let you know. We'll promote it once it happens. I already know. I'll already see it. Everybody, I appreciate your time tonight. Everybody, follow everybody. We love you. Until next time. We want you guys to be equally yoked. And how do you do this? You have conversations just like this. Until next time, we'll talk with you guys soon. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and the only SIR HALE Speaks in the building.